Okay, it's Tuesday and we are starting to talk a little bit about eclipses, but first I want to show you the slides that I hopefully was able to put in the end of your digital science notebook. I gave you a slide 15 here, just some notes on the phases of the moon. All of this is the same stuff you have in your paper notebook, but sometimes it's nice to have it in the digital notebook too so you can see. Plus I got to give you a gift, so that's always good. So there is the phases of the moon. You can see them there. Our view from Earth. This is the view from space. All the moons are half lighted and you can see the different positions. One thing I want to point out is you'll see this says day 29 and I told you that the phases of the moon were about 28. The reason I said 28 is because it's actually somewhere between 27 and 29. So it takes 27 days for the moon to go around, but in that time, the Earth is also rotating. So it kind of adds a day. It's kind of weird and hard to wrap my brain around. But I wanted to show you the 28 because it makes the math easy when I ask you questions. So you can notice we have day 7, day 14, day 21, you'll notice those are all multiples of 7. So 28 here kind of gives you the feel. It's that's the other reason why I said approximately 28. So if you say 27, 28, or 29, I will accept all of those options, but I just want you to see this and not be surprised. So this is nothing new. This was just to give you something in your digital notebook. The next slide is new. So this is the Eclipse interactive slide. We're going to start talking about eclipses today. We talked a little bit about those. We at least looked at those a little bit in our phenomenon videos. Our last 3 videos were about eclipses. And so what I want to do is when we do anything about modeling is to get kind of an initial idea of what you think right now. So when you see a question from Ms. Bratton that says think, what I'm saying is what understanding do you have now before we talk about it? So I want you to use what you have in your mind right now to try to arrange, and I didn't give you these, you'll have to draw them yourself, the sun, the earth, and the moon inside this box in a way that would produce a solar eclipse, and here, a lunar eclipse. If you have forgotten or are unsure, solar means sun, and to eclipse means to block out or cover. So a solar eclipse is when the sun is blocked out or covered. A lunar eclipse, lunar means moon, so that's going to be when the moon is blocked out or covered. And so I want you to arrange these 3 things into the shape, the order, the angle you think would be formed to get a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse. And then I want you to use your knowledge based on the model we've done before to tell me what phase of the moon would be occurring at this time. Once you have done that, there is a Eclipse interactive that I want you to finish. So this box here is a link. This used to be a link, but now it's just a picture of a link. Sorry. This box is a link. If you click the edges, it should take you where you need to go. Or if you're struggling to get the link to work, if you click present and then click the link, that should take you there. So when you click this link, it's going to take you to the Lunar Eclipse Simulator, and it's an Adobe Flash thing. So you've got to click Adobe Flash Player, and when it asks you, you need to allow Adobe to open. So it's going to open the simulator. It looks like this, and you've got lots of stuff to play with here, and I'd like you to play with it a little bit first. You can kind of see what's happening. You can turn outlines on and off. You can pause the movement. If your movement is paused, you can drag the moon around the orbit. You've got sliders over here that affect the tilt, the distance from the moon, the size of the moon, the direction you're looking into space, solar or lunar eclipse, and also if you want to refresh it, because in the instructions I'm going to tell you to refresh it, I mean just refresh the whole page to reset the simulation. So have a look at all the things that those buttons and things can do. And once you feel like you have a good feel for the simulation, the next slide on your set of slides, slide 17, starts with instructions on how I want you to be using the interactive to better understand how solar and lunar eclipses work. So I have a part 2 here. Part 1 was figuring out the interactive. Part 2 is starting to use it to learn stuff about the system. So here we have 1 and 2, and here we have part 3, A and B. So each of these questions are set in groups of 2. So what I would like you to do is follow the instructions. So it says the dark blue cone is the umbra. The umbra is the shadow. So when you're looking at the interactive, these dark blue cones are the shadow of the earth and the shadow of the moon. So when you see the word umbra, be always thinking the dark shadow. The school internet crashed on me, so I'm finishing my video at home today. Sorry it's late. So we were talking about the umbra, meant the shadow. So now we're going to look at our questions. It says, what happens to the moon when it's within the Earth's umbra, both in the top view and the side view? Explain your answer. So in the interactive, if you have it paused like it says, so in the instructions, it says, refresh to reset the simulation, click show outlines, click pause. So show outlines, pause. And so it says, move the moon into the shadow of the earth, into the umbra of the earth. What do you notice happen? Well, you probably notice it gets dark. You probably notice it turns a little red. You might say that it has an eclipse. That's great. But notice it says explain. So in Ms. Bratton's class, when you see explain, that means whatever you said first needs to be followed by a because, and then explain why. So why did the moon get dark? You don't have to say something super fancy. I just want you to tell me what you see. So probably you're going to say something like the moon gets dark because it passes into the Earth's shadow and the sun's light can't reach it. You could say it gets dark because the sun's rays are blocked by the Earth, something like that. So tell me it gets dark and tell me why. I want you to continue using the interactive, following the instructions that are written in the slide, and they should explain to you exactly what you need to click to see the information that you need to see. Now you'll notice there's 2 questions here, 2 questions here, and then on the next slide, there's 2 more questions here and 2 more questions here. Before each of these 2 question sets, go into your interactive and click that refresh button and refresh the interactive. It'll set everything back to the default settings, and it'll keep you from having a tilt in the wrong place for the next question or a distance in the wrong place or the size of the moon wrong. It'll make sure you're starting fresh with all the correct information. So please complete slides 16, 17, and 18 today. If you have questions about how to answer these questions or what you're seeing, you can send those to me in response to this assignment or in a direct email.